Disclaimer. This podcast is all about questions, so be careful. Some of them have the potential to be life-changing, but there is enough context-free humor included to keep the erudite entertained. Lucci.
Welcome, one and all. I'm Chris Thompson, and this is episode 187 of the Brain Software Podcast, and it is coming to you directly from Toronto, Canada, the hypnotic world epicenter. So today, NLP and hypnosis trainer Mike Mandel and I will talk all about questions. So ask yourself, what might be the benefit and advantage of staying tuned? That's right, you heard me.
And so, in consideration of all that James Braid did for us, and despite the wonderful lunacy that Mesmer led us into, and taking into account all that Carl Smith rescued us from, particularly during the Rendlesham Forest incident, we really are stuck. Are we not? But never mind all that rot. What matters to me most of all is to ensure I ask you the question, where can one get a really nice bowl of strawberries with Devon cream these days? Does one have to go to Wimbledon and play tennis in order to enjoy these fineries? And must one lunch at Windsor Castle in order to be served some lovely cucumber dipped in vinegar sandwiches on brown bread with the crusts cut off? But, thank you, as King George himself asked just the other night, while sliding somewhat carelessly onto his throne, resulting in a rather serious personal disservice, whatever happened in England to that old peace and tranquility we all enjoyed, and that Boris Johnson is attempting to restore here in the very colon of the British Empire?
These are days of victory. So let's welcome to the very pancreas of the shores of Lake Scugog, a man who enjoys life more than you do.
Hurrah!
Because he has access to himself 24/7.
Yes!
A man who sees flying saucers everywhere, especially in the sky. And a man who hates working so much that he became a hypnotist. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mandel.
Yuppers, Chris. Now, that
Yuppers.
last one, that he became a hypnotist, I wanted that done way more triumphantly, but that's okay. Let's get through our usual banter here, because we're talking all about questions today, and we're talking about how questions actually activate the brain.
So give me a moment of what question did you ask yourself that resulted in this topic for a podcast? No, I'm being serious.
You're asking me a question.
Yes, I know. Yeah. What?
Well, I just suddenly thought, we have questions in the meta model. We have questions in clean language. We have questions in the empowering questions. They are questions. And Tony Robbins said years ago, he said, is it possible that thinking is just asking and answering questions of yourself? And that certainly seems to be the case, at least a lot of the time.
And I think did he, or was it someone else that I'm mistaking in my mind for saying something along the lines of the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions that you ask yourself?
It's technically the quality of the results.
Oh, there you go.
No,
Something like that.
It's not. I just said that.
But
I'm tying to the Derek Balmer thing. The quality of the results in a class come from the quality of the demonstration.
That makes sense.
You see?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, better life.
Absolutely. I'm still working on that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Absolutely.
So asking yourself really excellent questions is the topic of conversation today. We've got 3 words.
We have the think tank words generated randomly up in the cabin, Whispering Oaks up on Minden on Bob Lake. And here are the questions.
This is pleasing.
Here are the think tank words for it. It is. We're sort of coasting
These
the
will
coastery.
get thrown up on the screen here.
Yeah.
Magically.
The first one is update.
Oh,
The second one is architecture.
And the third one is
choke.
Choke. Okay. Did you know I was going to do that?
I suspected you might. Yes.
All right. So update, architecture, choke. So we're spilling the beans on all 3 of them at once.
So
what do those mean to you?
Well, to me, update implies in a lot of areas of life. Like we have to update software on computers and iPads and things to ensure that it's safe and that it's functioning. And I think a lot of people never update their thinking or their lives.
Updating your thinking, updating your programming, the way that you automatically behave.
Right.
That can take an update, right?
When
you decide to make a change in your life by perhaps asking a question that leads you in a new direction. Very carefully saying that. a new
Direction.
And
I just looked
all
at
of a sudden
myself
that
when
can
I
cause
said
an update to the planning of how you design and implement your life on a
Which
day-to-day
leads to
basis.
architecture, the next one. People
Right.
look at the architecture of all sorts of systems, but they don't often examine the architecture of their own life.
It's
And
nice, eh?
is.
Architecture is a metaphor in the case of
For you.
When we talk about architecture, we
Yeah.
mean the actual architecture of, let's say, a building or something.
Yeah.
But software people who write...
Oh, sorry, I was coughing in the
That's
coffery.
just horrible, man.
We'll edit that out.
So many people... You completely lost my train of thought there, but
You
it's
said-
okay.
you
I'll
said
get
people in the manufacturing
in-
field who are
in-
buying shoes.
Yeah. In software engineering, they call it software architecture, which is a metaphor for building. But again, how do we build software? I'm not a software guy, but I understand the idea is that we have a framework of which we build features on, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're updating the architecture to your life, you can update in the updater. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think you do. You get it. Yes, it all fits
It
together.
all fits together.
Architecture
Plus-
is all about the way in which you design something that is functional and beautiful all at the same time, right?
Right. Now, that was rather
And then,
circumlocutory, but the
how do we
bottom
fit
line
choke
is
into
I
this?
used even architecture. Remember when I designed architecture of hypnosis?
Yes.
So we should be updating our own internal architecture to have a better life. Now, otherwise we choke.
So I like that. Otherwise we choke,
But how? How do we choke?
Well, if you do not have a place that you want to go, if you don't have an identified target state,
Right.
how are you even moving forward? Really? Like you're
sounds
constantly
like reaching a
cycling
bit,
in.
but-
You're constantly thinking about where you are now, your stuck state, without having a direction.
But what's the choke? What is the choke?
Well, it's your own lack of vision. If you, it's like seeing thick fog. There's a metaphor for you.
Yeah.
If you were driving your car and suddenly it's complete, thick, opaque fog.
Yeah.
You stop. You don't drive any further because you
Right.
can't
Unless
see.
you want a really exciting drive. Yeah.
So there you go. That would be to me the choke point. But the other thing that I thought of is you can purposefully choke off areas of your life that are no longer serving a purpose, that are negative energy, negative value.
Isn't
to your
that
life,
something?
Right. So we can remove choke points that we don't want there.
like chicanes when
but
you're
we
driving,
can add choke points.
where we do want them.
Right.
Although that needs to be understood to some degree because I don't.
Okay.
So that's good.
So
Well,
that's
we
getting
sort of-
just far too serious.
Yeah,
far
way too serious.
So we need to laugh now.
What is a question, Chris? What the heck is a question?
I think that is a very good question, Mike. What is a question? Well, what is a question? Something that inspires an answer, but the type of answer that
Love
you
the vagary.
can give
Yeah.
could be a yes or no, like a closed-ended question,
or an open-ended
it could be a very
question.
open-ended question, which are honestly much more useful in a lot of ways. Right?
Closed-ended questions can be really bad. Like,
They can really
yes or no
box you in.
response.
They can choke
absolutely.
you off
I said
from
absolutely.
options.
That's the
There you
first
go.
infraction.
Would you say
Okay.
an open-ended question doesn't choke you off? It opens pathways.
You just
It
don't
opens
ask me a
opportunity.
closed-ended
Yes.
question.
I know that's a yes or no.
You
That's
touched my
meant
hand
to
as
be.
well.
Oh,
So
I did.
The
Oh,
line
there you
is
go. There
here.
you go. The
Line is here. It's defined by this.
Would you say?
Yeah, an open-ended question keeps you involved in discourse.
Mhm.
A closed-ended question. Oh, what are you planning on doing this evening? Well, I was going to do this and this. As opposed to any plans for this evening? No.
Mhm.
It's like, so open-ended questions tend to automatically bring more. Do they bring
Yeah.
more resources to bear? Do they bring more response?
I think that open-ended questions bring more possibility, which are basically resources in this
Yeah.
case. I'll give you an example. So for all of the listeners slash watchers,
Yeah.
well, we had to go through a discussion on should we turn this podcast into a video podcast instead of audio only. We didn't say, should we make this a video podcast?
No.
Because that's
We'd say no.
That's too... What's
Too
the word?
constrictive. It's choking it.
It is a choke question.
It's a choke
This is
question.
really
That's right.
fitting in well. This is amazing. The randomness.
Yeah, it's not interesting or
Sometimes
useful,
these
but it is
words don't
fitting.
do anything for us.
Right, like right
but
now.
right now they are. We had to ask ourselves better questions like, if we were to switch to a video podcast,
Right.
what opportunities could that open up? What could we do different? What could we do that would add more value? How can it be more fun?
Right,
Or will
right.
it be more fun?
If you ask
will there
something
be any
like-
problems?
Right, and that's going to open it up. Like if I asked you, Chris, are you planning on going to prison? You'd say no. But if I said, Chris, when you're incarcerated, how large will your cell be?
Okay.
I I'm a comic genius.
All right, so
just came up with that then.
There's our 3 words. We're already fitting them into the topic at hand, but let's move on.
What do questions do? Well, what is a question? We know what a question is. It's one of those things.
I don't know why you even put this in the notes.
Well, because
what is a question?
It's an inquiry to determine information.
Yes.
Specifically. So
it evokes
what does a
information.
question do? One of the first things it does is cause an internal search through the brain's data banks. And that's
so it's
important.
not about the answer to the question. It's about unlocking new areas of thinking.
Yeah.
That will present more information that can become a resource to hopefully an answer.
Right. And of course, we can direct the question. Like if I ask you, what was the worst groin injury you've ever had? You're doing an internal search, right?
Yeah, I totally remember it right now.
What was it?
It was some kid named Jason Knobloch. And he
Shut up.
kicked me.
Nobody's groin injury. His name's Knobloch.
Yeah.
I know.
Jason Knobloch kicked me right in the
pouch.
Right in the pouch. Yeah.
Why did he do this, Chris?
Well, I don't even think he knew that he was going to kick me that hard, but we were standing on my front lawn.
It doesn't have to be that
front
hard.
lawn in where I grew up in Montreal on a street
French.
called Sunnyside Place.
Yeah.
And we were standing there in the front lawn underneath a chestnut tree, Mike, which is full of other hilarious stories. And we were talking, we were into karate, like I don't even remember if the Karate Kid had come out yet, that movie, but with Ralph Macchio and all that.
Yeah.
But we were practicing like snap kicks.
Yeah.
And he was standing right in front of me. And he just decided to throw a snap kick right into my groin.
It might have been Kingari. Kingari is the snap kick where you use the flat of the foot.
That was it.
On the underside of the testes.
That was
the
it.
one.
Yeah.
Well, if it's only that couldn't have hurt much.
Oh yeah, right. It was full on. And
now
it was
listen,
a
this is all about questions, but isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
We brought out this essentially.
He already got me to talk about getting
deeply
kicked in the nads.
entertaining material, for me at least, and it's based entirely on a question. It gives us access to material that is below the threshold of conscious awareness, and it has to be, because if it isn't, we'd be thinking about it already.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. They're conscious.
You said absolutely.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
$5
questions. Conscious asking that brings up unconscious.
Switch to English for a moment.
Perhaps, right?
Question, conscious, asking that, bringing twice.
I have
to
to use my conscious system to develop a question, not my conscious system to develop the wording, but I have to consciously think about what it is the question I'm.
And that's why he'll never be a truly dynamic hypnotist.
If you use those questions, they will spontaneously bring up unconscious information. They will make it conscious.
You are correct.
That's what I mean.
Val, brilliant. You got out of that very well, and
all right.
Please. Now, also questions, if they're used properly, they help us break out of stuck states.
Yes.
So stuck states are, nothing's going to change. I can't do it.
Yep.
And we start asking questions from something like the meta model or clean language. We're asking, well, if it could change, what would it be like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it can't. No, but if it could, I know it can't change, but if it could, well, I guess it would be. And you start to expand their map of the world.
Yep.
And enrich their map of the world. And that's what the meta model questions are going to do.
Stuck state questions. Often the examples I use are related to employment, because I guess I've spent so many years talking to people about the jobs that they don't like or whatever. So if somebody goes, oh, I hate my job. Well, what happens if you get another job? Well, nobody's hiring. Okay, so
I like the reversion to the Homer Simpson voice.
Nobody's hiring. Stuck state question or stuck state thinking process in your mind. Nobody's hiring. Therefore, it's impossible. Therefore, I can't get a new job. Okay, well, if somebody was hiring for the ideal type of job that you'd love to do, what would it be? There's an opening the door type of question, right? Get people to think a bit more.
And it wouldn't be anything. But what might it be? Make it up. As soon as you get them to make it up, you're starting to get to this deleted material.
Yeah.
But it breaks people out of tape loops. People get stuck in the same thing over and over and over. And I put here, questions reveal options that are out there. Now, we had Steve Rame speaking to our students a couple of weeks ago or something like that? Last week? I can't remember. Yeah. But I'm at an age where it doesn't matter that I remember, because I have electronic devices to take care of that for me. But Steve Rame is great, and he's just amazing at using mind-bending language. And his language will specifically get people out there, external to their problem, by using proper questioning. And we can generate alternatives that are outside their awareness. We're doing it by questions. We're not going to hammer directions at people that they're not going to want to do.
That makes complete sense.
Yes, it does,
because
Chris.
how does a person get described, Mike, if they are simply shouting suggestions and instructions at another person all the time.
Just as
well,
a
you
dick.
should this, and you how about this? Go do that.
It's gittish, at least.
Dickish because
Yeah,
you're
gittish.
ordering people around. Whereas you can prod gently and say, when did you come to believe X if you're challenging their belief in such a way?
And then you can ask the second question, the Jedi question, how do you know it's true?
Yeah, how do you know it's true?
How do you know well, I just know. Oh, that's interesting.
Who's the
We have metaphysics
smartest
here.
person that you know that believes something different than that, right? Maybe that'd be a nice question.
That's interesting.
To ask, right? Because then it implies, hey, wait a second, there are some pretty smart people on the other side of that debate.
Yeah.
What is it that they know that maybe you don't know?
Yeah.
This is how you start analyzing problems, right?
Yeah. All I know is my doctor said I can take all the Tylenol I want.
Yeah.
All I know.
All I know is,
Now, this causes, when you ask the proper kind of question, like Chris said earlier, the open-ended question to explore and expand and enrich someone's model of the world, you're causing reconsideration. Now, this is interesting. Reconsideration puts our brains through the loop again, looking for difference. Looking for things that may not be consistent, that may not be absolutes, and these enable us to find reconsideration. So we'll see this even in the meta model when someone says something like, I always screw up. What, every single time, every single thing you've ever done in your life, you screwed up. Reconsideration. No, I guess not. Now we're starting to crack the model open.
Well, these are the universal statements, right? Always, never. We should never make a universal statement.
You're looking for universal quantifiers, yes.
You should never make a universal statement.
No, but again,
including that
it's
one.
the question that causes it. You know, you're firing the ball. Here's the metaphor back in the pinball machine. The flipper send it, and it comes down like Jack the freaking downcomer.
And gets you points. Bing, bing, bing,
Yeah,
bing, bing,
like Jack the freaking point getter.
Flip it again.
Like the pinball wizard, like Jack the pinball wizard. And the reconsideration is each time it's passing through this, to a degree at least, you're bringing in new information, which are being added. And this is all happening electrochemically in the brain. Like there's stuff going on when you ask questions.
That is a very good point. You ask questions and you start firing neural networks.
How do you fire
in your
them?
Brain, like Jack the firer.
Yes.
Yeah. There was not two words there for me to follow the usual pattern.
The brain like Jack the Ripper.
But it's totally true that when you ask yourself questions, you're going to light up parts of your brain.
Yeah.
New information, new resources, new ideas are going to spontaneously happen that will basically be things that you already know from other areas of your life that suddenly get mapped into this particular problem or question, and ideas.
Yeah.
In fact,
excellent.
It makes me think about when I think we did a podcast at least a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, on the 6 thinking hats.
Edward de Bono.
Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats, and the green hat being that brainstorming hat, right?
Yep.
So when you're
hat.
first looking into an issue, you go, well, what are all the ways that we could accomplish whatever it is that we've got on our minds, whether it be a business thing or a relationship thing or whatever. And you start brainstorming all these things. You don't squash any of the ideas, and things just start coming out because, like Jack the Outcomer, because you're associating all these past things that are stuck in your brain and unsticking them and connecting them.
Yeah, it's like you're throwing them on the table and all the little pieces spread out and twinkle and start to join with each other in surprising new ways.
Kind of like that T-1000 when he's the liquid metal.
Oh, yeah, liquid metal Terminator. He was awesome. Yeah. Now, also, when you ask questions, I've got here, this causes access to unused resources. Remember, if we are looking for the solutions to problems inside the problem state, we're not going to find it. If it was the solution was inside the problem state, we would have solved it already. But unused resources, and we can tell they're unused because the problem isn't being solved, are external to the problem, and the questions will help access those. It could be as simple as, what other things in the past have you fixed that are similar to this?
And when you say external to the problem, they can still be there in the person's brain. They just haven't been mapped into the solution set.
Exactly, Chris. A very nice distinction.
So an actual external resource might be a physical location that one could go to that would maybe help them accomplish a certain goal that they couldn't accomplish if they stayed where they were physically. Just as an example.
I'm going to pretend I'm following that. That's good. Now, the other one is questions. It was a good one. Activate. I felt sorry for you. That's why I said that, because you look very sincere.
Well, I'll give you an example of what I was thinking about. Like, let's say somebody wants to change the way that they get healthy, and their mindset is, oh, well, I don't have a gym membership, so I can only work out at home, but I really like to walk around and it's boring to walk around my living room. There's a nature trail down there. Like, go there. I'm just unlocking opportunities that are not where you are physically right now. Anyway, over to you.
Right. We'll edit all that out. Now, questions activate the brain's pattern matching system. And we've said before, your brain always associates things to other things you already know. If you learn that an American dollar, this is an American dollar, your brain doesn't store it necessarily under American dollar. It'll store it there. It'll store it under the concept of money and currency and the color green and all these different things.
The
so it's accessible.
Sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's accessible from all these different places in your brain. Now, because things associate together, your brain looks for patterns all the freaking time. And when you ask the right metaphorical questions, you're enabled to come up with creative solutions. Like if someone says, oh, their life sucks, you can say, what is the metaphor for your life? Well, my life's like a freaking, dungeon. Well, how is your life like a kitchen? Well, it isn't. Well, if it was, what would it be like? Well, I guess it would function. I'd have the right ingredient, and they start to wake up to it and have proper
Or
knives.
they might metaphorically point to the problems and say, well, all the knives are really dull.
Yes, that's right.
If they go with it, if they're not resisting.
And this is the brain's pattern matching system. It's mapping across a kitchen to the situation or whatever you choose. And that's a very powerful thing. Remember, I said the brain works by connecting patterns with each other. So
that's a really cool question. If your life was like a kitchen, what kind of kit? Tell me about the kitchen.
It'll be like Hell's Kitchen. Mine would be. And I'd be Gordon Ramsay and I'd just be yelling at people a lot and saying, come here, you, all of you. Fantastic.
It's so interesting because that question inspires some really interesting thoughts.
Now,
all right, cool.
This is very, very interesting. We also have here, when you use questions on other people, you can use them on yourself. Remember, you can ask yourself questions. Your brain will still run the same pattern matching. But when you ask someone else, you're causing the mind to open rather than slam shut. If you're just throwing data at someone, the thing comes down, the shield comes down, they're not listening. The shield goes back up, then they start talking again. I'll give you a quick example without mentioning anything that's going to be offensive to anyone. Although I could quite easily. My friend Paul, our mutual friend Paul, great guy. He had a guy from a religious cult kept showing up at his door. And Paul's such a nice guy, he could never get rid of him. And the guy would come every Saturday morning and waste about an hour to an hour and a half of Paul's time. And they get in these spirited debates because Paul always got on the defensive and started arguing data with him. And the blind would come down and the guy wouldn't listen. And then they'd just start again. So he said, help me. I said, I will solve your problem. So I went over one Saturday a couple of years ago. And I don't have a lot of Koine Greek, which is first century Greek. But I had more than this guy did. Okay. And when he started throwing this stuff at me, I started coming back with the Greek and proving it. And I started asking him questions. And you could see the frantic thing. I said, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just wondering if you can show me, where does that show up in the Bible? And he didn't. And he got all flustered and stormed out. And it was actually very, very exciting.
And he never came back.
He never came back, which is kind of sad. But I wasn't mean. I just asked questions and forced him to think instead of just giving me back his parroted response.
You're forgiven in that situation because this is a man who was intruding on Paul's private Saturday morning time.
Yeah, he was out to convert him. I wasn't going to let that happen.
There you go.
Now, let's talk about the 3 super questions. These are fantastic. And the first one we call the magic question with a clean variant. Why don't you take us on this one, Chris? While I drink some ordinary coffee.
The magic question is, what do you want? That's the original.
I want some caffeine, buddy.
I want some coffee. That's right.
Yeah.
The clean version is, what would you like to have happen?
Which I prefer. I taught the magic question for years, corporate groups and so on, as you know, police. But I don't change it to what would you like to have happen, but I offer that as an alternative because even that opens things in a different way. Because what you want, you might think it's impossible to get. But if you change it to what would you like to have happen? Well, I'd like someone to come along and do this, and then you can start saying, how am I going to find that person who can do that?
It opens it beyond your own actions and responsibilities.
Yes, brilliant,
Well,
Chris.
I would like this person to change their behavior in some way, or to ask me to go on a vacation with them, or whatever it is. It opens the door to other things happening that are beyond your control. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. So we like both of those. What do you want and what would you like to have happen? And when they give you the answer, the really powerful thing therapeutically and just in your normal day-to-day relationships is to go to the evidence question, which is how will you know that you have it?
Yeah.
See, you have to have evidence criteria, and it has to be the epistemology of this is it must be visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. You have to get a well-formed outcome so they can say, well, I'll know I'm rich because my wife will be happy and stop telling me I'm a cheap jerk, and my house will be clean and I'll put that new garage. They will have criteria because if you don't have criteria, you can go flying right past your epistemology without even noticing it.
Yeah. That's a real, this is a good example. We'll leave
You almost
this.
stuck me in the eye with your finger.
I think you're right. I did. What would you like to have happen instead?
I'd like you to stop doing that. So I don't have to break
Imagine
your finger.
actually that idea, because a lot of people, of course, in this day and age, as is true in every day and age, people are concerned with money.
Yes.
And well, what do you want? Well, I want to be rich.
Oh, no, I want more money.
Yeah.
So give him a quarter.
But go with the example you gave, which was,
Right.
I want to be rich. Well,
Right.
what does that mean? How will you know when you are?
Yeah, what will you see, hear, and feel?
Everyone's going to paint a different picture of what that means. Now, this is important. We didn't really say this, but we should always come back to the principles. Why do we ask the magic question? Because we need to identify the target state.
The target state.
We need to know what someone is aiming at rather than having them think
Or
about
what
their
they
stuck
want to
state.
aim at that they're not aiming at yet.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Where do you want to aim that arrow of awesomeness in your life?
Right.
I want to aim it at that target over there. Well, what is that target? That's called being rich. Okay, well, when you hit that target, how will you know you've hit it? And now we're painting a picture of, I have a cleaning person that takes care of my house.
Or, I live in a beautiful town outside
my mortgage
Toronto.
is paid
I've got a
off.
small fleet of Teslas with the cyber truck on order. Oh, hang on, Chris, this is you.
So there's different ways people can answer that, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I want more money. And Tony Robbins famously flips the guy a quarter and
Or
says,
you got more money now.
Here, go call someone who cares, or whatever it is.
We didn't say that.
I know.
You've
I'm
added
kidding.
the country
I
song.
know.
Now, this brings us, we got to keep moving here in the movery.
Mhm.
This brings us to the Jedi questions, which
Okay.
are really powerful questions you can apply. Guys, you can apply this across the board in so many areas of your life. When someone is telling you anything and you want to engage with them, the key is
Like propaganda?
yeah, whatever, but it could
Right.
just be a nice conversation.
Mhm.
You're just having a friendly conversation, instead of
Yeah.
shouting all these numbers at me. But the key is you want to keep your tone pleasant. You don't want to be, yelling.
You don't want to be
document,
j'accuse.
document,
Yeah.
j'accuse. Yeah.
You don't want to be accusing boy.
Right. And you want to be accused. Like you said, j'accuse is like Jack accused.
I know.
Like Jack the accuser.
Yes, I accuse you.
Yeah, j'accuse is like
J'accuse,
Jack
the-
the accuser.
Yes,
It's
it
sort of-
is. Jack the accuser.
Now listen.
That's even better.
Stop going into the high register
In
with
the
your voice.
accusery.
He's accusory. Now,
Okay.
Jedi questions. These are great questions. The first one, remember your tone is important. Don't nail them. Don't j'accuse. But you want to say, how did you come to believe that? I find that interesting. You don't have to either find that interesting. I'm just fleshing it out. How did you come to believe that? Well, it's what my parents always taught me. Oh, okay. Yeah. And how do you know it's true? See, when you ask these questions, you're getting the foundation as to how they drew that belief or whatever it is in the first
Epistemology.
place.
Mhm.
Yes. And then you're asking, but now, how do you know it's true?
Mhm.
Maybe it isn't anymore. Maybe it was true when you were a kid that you were this, dummy or whatever, but now you're a grown adult and you have power and resources and it's not true anymore.
Mhm.
And we often as human beings, so when I say we, I really mean all of you and him. When you and him get stuck, it's funny, he's not even noticed how brilliant that was. Get stuck in something. We don't always know, but the right kind of question, like, how do you know it's true?
Mhm.
When we step outside with our wonderful human given's power of looking externally at our own situation, and I know I'm getting very intense here, but I'm doing it sort of with a point. I'm looking right into the
It's okay.
lens.
I've got some comic relief
Okay,
coming
good.
up.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it because I'm sort of stuck in this
I'm just kidding,
really
I don't.
heavy thing like Jack the freaking pontificator. I don't want to be the Pope here, but listen, when we ask those right kind of questions, we can suddenly evaluate, yeah, that isn't true. That is no longer true in my life. And instantly you get a shift.
I think you're right. And
That's
rather than comic relief, because I was lying, I don't have anything.
Bastard.
Let's go to our commercial break.
Let's do that, buddy. Tonight on the Shizjig Ant-Proof Network.
Danny, where in Hades are you, son?
I'm over here, Dad. I'm just running over to Spunkaluccio's house. We're both training for the 100-yard dash at the Grade 8 Olympics.
You're not running anywhere, Barry Allen. What's all this bird waste on my stamp collection?
Wow, Wow, I didn't see that, Dad. I guess it must have been Junior Bird.
What the hell's a junior bird, Danny?
He's not a what, Dad? He's a who. Junior Bird is Spunkaluccio's blue jay. He bought him yesterday from an illegal wild bird dealer and brought it over when you were out. He's a very smart blue jay, but the thing is, Dad, Junior Bird's a very young bird. He doesn't have social skills and isn't house trained yet.
You can say that again, Captain Obvious. There's a smear of pale bird residue that's crusted on my priceless 1939 Adolf Hitler stamp. You can barely see the Fuhrer's mustache now. I should have known that strange kid Spunkaluccio would be behind this somehow. I don't like that blue stocking cap he wears. I always think I'm looking at a Cornelius Krieghoff painting when I see him.
Yeah, I know you're upset, but I can see the mess, Dad. But you've got to understand, Junior Bird's a very young bird.
Stop attempting to teach me something, son. He may well be a young bird, but you're still just Danny, so it's entirely your fault.
Yeah, I guess so, Dad. But your Heinrich Himmler stamp collection's still okay. But there is some bird waste on the Air Marshal Hermann Goering BF-109 commemorative stamp.
Damn it and fry it, son. Those stamps were ant-proof, too. I paid a fortune to my own company to have them sprayed with non-marking pyrethins.
Yeah, I kind of figured that, Dad.
The Zany Adventures of Junior Bird, tonight at 11:58 on the Night Owl channel.
All right. Now, there are thousands of empowering questions you can ask, and literally thousands. And the best ones will fulfill the points we've already mentioned. They'll access resources. They'll cause reconsideration. They'll turn your attention to brand new areas outside your problem. So let's get a couple of them. Sample questions here. Here's a great one, Chris. What is the least important thing that is cluttering up your life, and what will you do about it?
Ooh, what is the least? Okay, so this is a really good question because
Thank you.
Do you remember when I was driving up to your cabin, I told you I was listening to an audiobook, and one of the things, it was actually a specific, one of the books on the 80-20 principles by Richard Koch. I can't remember which freaking title it was right now. But anyway, he talked about things in your life that have negative energy, negative value, or negative value. It shouldn't be energy. It's not like a woo-woo concept.
Very
Energy.
quantum physics,
It's
man.
what is cluttering up your life that is actually taking value away. And one of the easiest things that you can do to make your life more awesome is to simply fire those things from your life.
Just
All
like
those
firing
things,
toxic people.
they're negative things, negative people, negative patterns, negative tape loops, whatever it is. If you just stop doing the stuff that's actually taking value away from your life, you save time, money, whatever it is, and your life gets automatically better.
Are you saying there's a problem with marriage? It's just an
We haven't
indirect-
used that joke in
No,
a
but
long
you're
time.
right. You're absolutely right. And here's another one. Tell me what you do with this one. How long are you likely to live? And how will knowing that likelihood drive you forward to do everything you want to do? I did a check online with my state of health, and which is good, and my family and aging a bit. And I'm predicted to die at age 83. Although I have a 1.78% chance of dying in the next year.
Oh, that is funny.
So, and I almost did today.
I think did. Was
driving-
this an
cutting this
insurance
guy off.
company ad?
No,
that
it
you
wasn't. It was a
filled out?
website, Chris.
Okay.
But it was all done on actuary tables, of course, the bean counters of the world. But that would mean I've got like less than
15 years.
Less than 15 years. But that's okay. 14 and a half years. I should be able to get a lot done. And what I want to get done in that time is a lot of just incredible self-indulgent humor.
I think you want to get a lot of nothing done. Yeah. There we go.
Pretty
But
much.
No, the reason I asked is somebody
you're
had
gonna die
sent me
soon?
a similar link, and it was, well, what's your current age? What's
Yeah.
your height? This and that. And it
Yeah.
looked like it was all very official.
Yeah.
And I plunked in all of the real answers, and I think I got
It says you're going to die next week.
I said I was going to die at like 85 or something like that. And then I thought, what if I just go back and mess
Tweak it.
around with the answers?
Tweak
so
it in
I
the
started.
tweakery.
One of the questions was around like alcohol consumption. So I said,
gosh, you're gonna die in a year for sure.
I said never. Like I do not drink, and it didn't change the answer.
Yeah, Hitler
more than
wasn't a
year.
Nazi.
Mike, not even a year.
Are
Then
you
I
serious?
put I heavily drink.
And
the opposite.
you
And
lost 20 minutes.
Same answer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I thought this is complete BS.
Chris has just verified the importance of daily alcohol.
I told somebody this.
Scary,
Goes,
isn't it?
I think that's permission to heavily drink. Anyway, I wouldn't trust these
We'll
things
edit
very
all this
far.
stuff out.
So yeah, what if you knew when you were, basically what you're saying is if you knew when you were going to die,
Yeah.
then how might that change your perspective on what you're going to do with your time that's left? Well,
Yeah.
if we knew it was going to be next freaking year, then yeah, obviously,
Chris,
I'm not going to start building a
gonna
new
be next
company,
year, buddy.
right? I'm not going to start.
funny if I've actually
I'm not going to
predicted it
start
and he
building
dies
some
next
new
year.
company that's going to take 10 years to build.
No, you're going to
I'm going to probably
finish building
focus
this
much
one.
more on enjoyment.
Yes,
but
well-
actually, if you think about it,
and we don't want to.
where can you add more fun to your life that you're not
I'm
adding
finding it
now?
hard to add more fun, buddy.
I think
I'm
that's an
having
important
a freaking
question.
blast.
You know,
That's a very good question.
it's not on our list here. I'm totally adding this as an impromptu
He's
discussion.
totally adding it.
And we're going to wrap up soon because I think we said
No,
we would.
we're having a blast.
But this is freaking awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we realized that the best thing about this business is that we both understand the value of having fun? That if there isn't at least like a 7 out of 10 on the fun scale,
right.
we're not doing it.
Well, with me, it's more like a 9.
Yeah, there you go. I'm the boring guy. I'm a 7. So if it's a 7, 8, 9, or 10 on the fun scale, like
Yeah.
we'll definitely consider doing it. We won't automatically
No,
do it
but I'm
'cause there are
glad to
fun
hear
things
you
that are
say this
stupid.
because I'm doing the serious hands. You've actually, I think you have greatly improved because you went through a phase. It only lasted about 2 or 3 months, but I saw it getting worse and worse. And you were just on my case about everything.
Well, you know what was
And just-
happening?
No, I'm still talking.
Yes,
In this
I know.
really mocking
I
way.
know.
And I actually sat where you're sitting now and I said to you, I remember this. I said, I should point at this instead of the light.
I was standing there.
You're standing there and I said, buddy, if you and I ever have a problem, it's going to be over this. And then you realize
I realized, though,
you're
I
just being
remember
a
what that
bastard.
was.
You were just being a total
I remember that
bastard,
moment.
condescending prick. And now he's turned it around and we're friends again. See, that's what guys do. I saw in a movie once, this woman was complaining. She said, oh, I hate so-and-so, I hate so-and-so. And he said, but they're your friends. You have to like them. She said, who likes their friends? And he said, guys do.
Yeah, you know what? That could be the most powerful question that we could leave you all with, which
Who likes
is
their friends?
where in an area of your life that truly matters to
Yeah.
you, where is there not enough fun?
Oh.
And how will you bring more fun into it?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you that your life becomes pretty freaking awesome
Yeah.
when the things that you do for income are also the things that you do for fun.
Oh, man, he's right. And I'm just working towards that. Scary. I've been there since 1975.
So,
now,
yeah.
want to get to the last question, Chris, the greatest weakness one.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Okay.
Okay.
So it says, and I read word for word here, what is your greatest weakness that holds you back, and what will you do to overcome it? I see your side notes here. I'm not reading those. What is your
greatest weakness?
What is your greatest weakness?
You know,
Inability to focus.
Inability to care.
Yeah.
Now, my greatest
That's a
weakness,
superpower.
and it's hard to have a weakness when you're running your IQ at 162 on a freaking daily basis, as I am. But having said that, I have a lot of liabilities in other areas because it's not easy to have a freaking super brain.
We know.
And with me, the worst one was collaboration. I was a freaking lone wolf my whole life. I became a lone wolf as an Enneagram 8 with my work. I didn't want to listen to what agents said, didn't want to listen to what my wife said. I wanted to do everything myself. And when I started working with this guy, this
Then
one
the
right
collaboration
here, this
started.
one.
Yeah.
I started working with you.
Me.
It was amazing because I was able to drop the thing of having to control everything and collaboration came in. And that was the biggest jump for me. And I've said this on other people's podcasts like Prince Andrews and so on. Like the most amazing thing for me was seeing the power of collaboration and recognizing I could safely let go of the controls of huge areas of my life because I trust this guy.
And actually, when we've been building our team, notice that when we have team meetings, we laugh like crazy. It's not just you and I having a good time.
No,
we
the
build a
7 of us
culture
now.
of infectious laughter.
Infectious, bad word.
Yeah, in a very good sort of way.
Sound like gonorrhea.
Yeah, very, very infectious. Something that you would never want to inoculate against.
No, absolutely not.
Never.
And there are 7 of us in our organization now. 7.
Is
It's
it?
fantastic. Yeah, man.
Wow.
There's me, there's you.
Yeah.
Vanessa on support. We've got Pedro on social media. We've got
Preeti,
Ross doing video and
Timothy,
auditing,
Ross, yeah.
editing. We've got Preeti doing all her amazing tech and organization
What is this?
stuff.
Is this a hiring? Are we
I
trying to
think
offer
we're
people
hiring.
jobs
We're ready
here?
to hire one more person. The only problem is you have to work for a pittance and you have to work really, really hard. And This isn't even funny. I don't.
No, it's not. I don't. Yeah,
it's
None
funny
of this
because
is
it wasn't. Okay, so
All right.
when you go to the empowering question,
So here's your well, we've done so many, but
no,
we're
you
going
did. Do it.
We're going to end it off with the following empowering question.
for it, buddy.
This is, by the way, how you end every hypnosis session with a client or
I love it.
coaching session. So we're going to end this podcast by asking you,
what's next? See this? I got this from a book by a psychiatrist. The book was mediocre, heartily, and I've written from the heart.
You said this
book.
once,
but
right?
this one thing he said. He always asks at the end of a session, "What's next?" You can use this in your life. What's next? That identifies what step you have to take next to keep moving forward.
Yep, it puts the onus back on
Changes the locus of the
person.
focus.
So when you're asking questions,
And we
you're guiding someone towards new opportunities and opening
possibilities.
avenues of connection in their mind.
Yes.
What's next?
What's next?
All right.
Okay, I've got a MetaFIVE for you. This is the Hypnotic Time Machine. Chris knows I was horrendously bullied as a kid, and you were too, but
Yes,
nowhere
not
near the
to the
degree I
extent
was.
that you were. Yeah.
No,
because you were basically Spunkaluccio.
Well, I was not. I was more.
I think you were.
Yeah, I guess I was, wasn't I? But just oppressed by other kids, beaten up over and over and over and over again. And when I got out of it, and out from under the control of my evil teacher, and started to be more self-actualized, and took martial arts and everything, and then started to turn it around. So I wasn't afraid of people anymore. I got strong enough and smart enough, like I wanted to, that people wouldn't be able to wreck my life. But what I did, Chris, was then I intentionally went into a trance. I did my Hypnotic Time Machine. Just in one session, I went back over every one of those horrendous fights where we weren't even fights, where Steve Millen had tried to choke me with a scarf and horrible stuff. But I went back in my mind as an adult with the skills of British Jiu-Jitsu and annihilated each one of these people systematically and changed the script of what had happened.
Yep, you rewrote.
And the last bit of that hold over me completely disappeared. So I'm not scared of you at all.
That's
you're younger
awesome.
than me. You're a jiu-jitsu fighter. You're fitter.
Hit my cheek on the microphone, but that's awesome
That's
anyway.
it. I carry a blade.
That's amazing. All right. So podcast 187 in the bag.
In the bag,
Started
man.
by talking about getting kicked in the bag.
Yeah, and we
now
ended by
it is
getting kicked
in the bag. And we
Yeah.
hope that you really enjoyed it.
I'm
And we
shutting this down.
encourage
I'm
you
off work.
to take advantage
Do
of
it.
all
everybody.
of the opportunities,
No, the opportunities.
to add fun to your life
Yes.
and build a more awesome life.
And we'll
Now,
be here for you.
We're here for you.
Yes.
MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We've got all kinds of free resources, so make sure you check it out. If you are interested in the personal development side of things, click on the products page and check out the personal growth membership that we've got for you. That's the best way to access all of our awesome tools to help you build a better life. And if you're looking for hypnosis training, then of course you'll find that in the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. We'll see you in the next episode.
We
Thanks
will.
again, and good night.
Hey, Chris, I've got a thing I can make you laugh again.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to say one sentence to you.
I'm
and
closing
it's one
the
I've
iPad,
heard you
so
say.
I'm not even
you said
distracted.
this sentence only 2 nights ago.
Okay.
You liked it so much, and you actually left this as a message for Michael C. Anthony.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to say to you, I want you to not laugh. Look at me. Chris, Johnny Baboon called last night. He told me to tell you that Philip Ridaway died last night screaming.
Oh, man. Okay.
I shouldn't have said last night twice. It should just have been Johnny Baboon called.
Oh, that's
He told
fine.
me to tell you that Philip Ridaway died last night screaming.